and creating automatically that entry in an online world inside Azure Active Directory. Then there is another business which is called directory authentication. It is very, very simple. If I'm logging into Skype for Business online services, where do I want my authentication to happen? Do I want it to happen online using Azure Active Directory, or do I want it to authenticate against on-premise deployment? So purely based on your requirement, you can either use Azure Active Directory sync tool, which has capability to take your passwords. Because if I do not bring your passwords into online, I won't be able in online authenticate you. So if I start syncing your passwords, this means I now can actually authenticate you. And in case if you decided that, you know what, I'm not ready to completely go to the environment where my online environment will be authenticating, I will be using ADFS, basically services, for authentication. Now, the very kind of common question we got from our customers, in the past, we were actually stating that to do the hybrid, you had to have DIRSync and you had to have ADFS service. It's no longer the case. So you can, for directory synchronization, use Azure Active Directory sync service, and also you can use password sync to synchronize a password. Okay? So that's all stated. It is publicly available information. It's available on TechNet, so please refer to that. It is available. So you would say, great. Oh, I'll remove the laser pointer. What kind of options do I have? Let's say I've sorted out the directory question. I do whatever services, I synchronize users, and I've decided to bring it across. What I found that a lot of us referring to Skype for Business as it's a Skype for Business. But that's actually wrong. We cannot refer to Skype for Business anymore because there is at least 3 products called Skype. It is a Skype consumer. Skype consumer is a completely different world. It lives separately, has nothing to do with us in an enterprise world. It's a consumer-grade product, Skype. So we have to be very specific when we actually refer to the services. There is a Skype for Business Online. It is a Microsoft-hosted service in a public cloud, multi-tenanting, across shared infrastructure inside your tenant. So when you're referring to Skype for Business, be more specific, Skype for Business Online. And there is a product called Skype for Business Server, and to be more precise, 2015. Right? If you go to TechNet, you'll see all documentation refers to it, Skype for Business Server 2015. Again, when I hear Skype for Business Server, it also builds my expectations that that's on-premise deployment. It is a different product. It's not online. Why it's, first of all, it's really important to understand and to call the products correct way, but also those products are kind of a little bit different. We do not have yet the parity and the functionality between on-premise product and online product. Yes, it is intention of Microsoft to bring more functionality into online cloud. And if you are a Microsoft customer or partner, you've got NDA signed with us, I'm sure Microsoft will be happy to discuss with you, show you some of the roadmaps, and we can share with you some of the features and functionalities that actually we bring into the products over time. That's unfortunately not public yet. We can do that. But so far, the products are different. Right? And as Paul mentioned during his session, we refer to cloud PBX. It's all in the cloud running as a Skype for Business Online, but it does not necessarily provide or feature rich functionality for on-premise deployment. Right? So I want to make sure you guys understand. If I'm after very rich replacement for my telephony today, you have to go to on-premise. And the only way into on-premise is your Skype for Business server. So please be more specific when you call the products by their names. So 3 ways we can deploy. We can go online, we can go on-premise, or we can go into hybrid. Now, what is the right choice? There is no right choice. It really depends on what kind of functionality I want to use. How I personally do. I don't kind of position with my customers anymore, it is online or it is on-premise. For me, it is Skype for Business, kind of. from the understanding perspective. So I, as a customer now, only need to think of where do I land my users? And I land my users based on their demand and requirements for functionality. If you are a very lightweight user, IM and presence is the only thing you need, bit of calling, and if you're hardly hitting the office, maybe once or twice a quarter, I may actually host you online, because most of the time you're outside, you're on the road, you don't need to come here into and hit my infrastructure. But if you are a very power-rich user, you're using a lot of calling functionality, you are inside, I need to have a lot of control, or actually what do you call, where do you call, how do you call, I need your logs, etc., etc. As of today, I will more than likely land you into Skype for Business on-premise, right? So the real decision is, it's not which product I take. The real decision should be done, depends on what I use, I will actually land on a very specific product. And that hybrid is the one that help us to bring this together and to give you choice to actually move user from one environment to another. So let's have a look at the Skype for Business Online. Basically, it is a service that runs from Microsoft public data center inside your tenant. It's a multi-tenanted platform. It's not really the same platform. Skype for Business Online, it's not the Skype for Business server you have. It's a little bit different. If you're familiar with the link-hosted pack, that's what it was. Link-hosted pack was actually taken out of Office 365, was packaged as a package and given to some of the service providers to host them. That's what it is, right? What it does, doesn't provide some of the functionality of quality of service, call admission control, some enhanced telephony functionality. It does not. Of course, intention to get Skype for Business Online and Skype server to the same parity level of the functions. But it takes time, right? It's not overnight we're going to get them together. And there are some cases, which is very, very important for you to understand, that it has limitations the way we actually support and implement. Some of the limitations are that if you're running a multiple user forests, you cannot have connected them to one Skype for Business tenant. You cannot have one domain, SIP domain, across your multiple user forests, right? So we demand, if you have one tenant, you have got your Skype for Business Online, with the SIP domain, it has to be single user forest at remote end and customer end. It cannot be actually resource forest, or it cannot be multiple forests in place. That's a product kind of capability in place. We'll go through this a little bit later in more detail. So how it is deployed, we have on-premise deployment of Active Directory, and that's all. There is nothing else is deployed on-premise. Everything else is deployed inside your tenant. So you have got your Azure Active Directory tenant, you have got your edge servers and front ends. Now, you have your users that are actually sitting on the internet and users that are sitting inside your corporate network. They all connecting to the edge. Office 365 have an edge. You don't connect to the front end server. So every time when you go into Skype for Business, you actually connect to the edge, and then edge will proxy your connection back into the front end server. Modalities are available. IM and presence, you can run a conferencing. If you would like to have a PSTN, you've got choices of audio conferencing services provider, or soon we're going to be launching some of the Microsoft capability into the stack, where you can take some Microsoft numbers from in US at this stage. And we will bring that cloud PBX functionality where if you are in US, you can take a Microsoft telephone number assigned to the user, or if you are around the world, you can use some of your on-premise lines and assign to your own line. So the idea is I don't have anything on my on-premise environment. The only thing I have are users, right? So this is where you really need to understand what is an impact I have on my internet connection and what is an impact I have to my infrastructure. Because it is very important to understand whenever I bring Skype for Business user onto my network, I immediately have big change. And the big change is it affects my network, it affects my infrastructure, it affects my uplinks, it affects my internet links, because user then can do voice and video and sharing. It's not just the calling, right? So you need to really understand how the user is going to be consuming the services. It's kind of going back to the concept of understand what they're going to consume and then design environments to support them. Skype for Business on-premise. It's not as complex. We've been doing this for years. Link 2013 or Skype for Business. It can be in a single AD. It can be in a resource forest, can be multiple forests, fully supported with Exchange on-premise, fully supported with Exchange online. Oh, since we're talking about Exchange, in this configuration, what I haven't put it in because it was too much space to put on a drawing. We, of course, support SharePoint Online and Exchange Online. It is supported, you can cooperate. The only thing which is not supported, your Exchange on-premise. So if you have got by some way Exchange sitting somewhere here on-premise, we will not support that deployment. Be very careful with that. Okay? So when you go into the Skype for Business server on-premise, it can be on-premise, Exchange can be online, it can be on-premise, Exchange can be on-premise, right? Exchange officially is the only supported platform for voicemail, unified messaging. We cannot hook any other voicemail messages into Skype for Business on-premise. So you really need to be now what you're doing. If you don't have Exchange, unified messaging, and if you're replacing your telephony, and if you have a voicemail, you need to be thinking, what something I have to do if I'm going to plan to replace my voicemail. And it comes with all the benefits. Again, this is not different to what Skype for Business on-premise does to Link 2013 server. Same environment, you design the pools, they are on-premise, you design an edge, design reverse proxy, and then you start placing your users either inside the organization or either outside of organization. You can use your voice gateways, deploy the voice infrastructure, and you can start bringing a telephony line. And if you come tomorrow to the session, we'll dive a little bit deeper into the integration options of how actually you can integrate into telephony lines or into existing telephony PIBXs. What are the kind of pros and cons when I start interoperating and living with those devices on the network, right? So it's a single AD forest, one of the options. You can go, yes, I've got single forest, multiple domains, it doesn't matter. What people sometimes get a little bit mixed up, you can have single forest, you can have multiple SIP domains. And Skype for Business server, as Link 2013 server, as Link 2010 server, can support multiple SIP domains. There is no problem with that. So the forest is the one that actually matters. If you are running a resource forest model, there are some deployments where customers are sitting in a resource forest, where all the servers are sitting in a resource forest, or users are in a resource forest, and servers and somewhere else. We can support on-premise deployment. Now, why? Because we are in a control. We can talk, we can establish the trust. It's a one-way trust if you have got Skype for Business server. If you're trying to actually inject Exchange into this sort of environment, you need to establish two-way trust. There's tons of documentation being written on this topic. There's no difference to what we have done with Link 2013 to actually what Skype for Business will do. Absolutely no difference from the architecture perspective. So let's take it to the next step, kind of explore it a little bit more, because what we come across situations where some of our customers expressed kind of willingness to say, look, I don't want to host it. I want to go to Skype for Business on-premise, I want to go to the server mode, but I don't want to have it. I don't really want to deal with that. I either buy it as an infrastructure as a service, which means someone hosts my environment in his data center, I manage it, or some of them even go further and saying, you know what, let someone host it, let someone manage it, let someone operate, I'm just going to use it, consume it as a service, right? So there are two models for that operation. The model is when you go to the resource forest through the service provider, everything in red, I'm going to stay like this so you can see, guys. Everything in red indicates it can be located in the data center of the service provider. It can be even located on the customer premise. The question is who takes responsibility of it, who maintains and who manages it, right? So the service provider can be in a resource forest. It's a kind of de facto default deployment of them. And why? Because they kind of want to be in the control of their environment. Because if I'm a service provider, if I have to provide you the service, guess what's going to happen? I will have SLA, and if I don't meet my SLA, I'm going to have a penalties. And I don't want to pay your penalties. Guess what? That's my resource forest. You can't do anything, Mr. Customer, to that. It's great. We will establish one-way trust, and it's a well-documented approach where you create your accounts, of user accounts inside resource forest, you disable them, you put some some kind of identity that synchronizes those accounts. There's a number of them, number of solutions. We're not fussy about what it is. As long as it can synchronize specific attributes in the Active Directory, and basically what will happen every time users sitting outside or inside, they will hit front-end server, and the front-end server will hit the AD, and will say, I want to authenticate user, and then AD will redirect users to be authenticated against their native Active Directory, right? It's a good model, and service providers have a lot of benefits here, except one point. It doesn't fit hybrid model, because that's where Office 365 is. It has nothing to do with the service provider. We only trust customer. That's the ADFS and all the environment we establish with the customer. We don't establish with the service provider. So resource forest does not work for hybrid. Now, there is exception for Exchange. And if you come across that, if you've seen that in the past, what actually has happened, we said, okay, if you are in the service provider world, there's not topology, not architecture. There's a very specific configuration we will support. If you are link sitting in the resource forest of the service provider, if you have got Active Directory, all this environment on the customer end, and if you have Exchange Online in the Office 365, there is a very specific way you can configure environment to make it working. So remember, the exception has been created specifically for Exchange Online to make your unified messaging working, right? And why do you want the unified messaging? It's great. It's for voicemails. But also what we're encouraging people actually to take up Exchange services, because now you can archive into them. It's a server-side, actually, conversations can be stored Exchange. Your contacts can be stored in Exchange. Life's really getting better. Life getting much, much easier if Exchange really blended and configured with Skype for Business. So the message of the day, the resource forest, and if you are a service provider or if you're a consulting service provider, you're following on this path, you should immediately start raising alarms in your head. This is not good. And why? Because on top of the fact is great, okay, not supported, you know what, I'll sell a service, I'll still will make money, I'll operate with the customer. But we have declared that we're going to bring more and more functionality into Office 365. And we said because we're going to enable online users with this functionality, we don't want on-premise deployments to kind of lose on that, right? So if you go into the hybrid deployment, we will allow you to start actually using some of these online services. For example, you'll see today broadcast meeting. If you would like to use broadcast meeting, you need to have a hybrid environment. So imagine you build a whole business case, you're running a service like this for your customer, and suddenly customer knocks your door, Mr. Service Provider, I want to start using broadcast meetings. Guess what? There is no workarounds. It cannot be done, right? It's a very dangerous path. So what we have done, we worked with a lot of service providers, and we actually kind of told them that they have to do something with their service. So there is a possibility that if they adjust, and I've at least worked with 3 service providers in this region, in Asia region, where actually they have thought about it, they considered it. So if the service provider will accept, and if customer will agree to extend Active Directory, again, this is not shared infrastructure. I am, as a service provider, I will build this environment dedicated for you. It's yours. Just extend your Active Directory to me. In this case, we are not in a tri-forest environment, because right now, as Microsoft says, forest number 1, forest number 2, forest number 3, tri-forest doesn't work. But if I actually extend my Active Directory into service provider world, actually it will get me all the benefits, because now I can use hybrid, I can start using without any headache the power of Office 365 services, right? There's one kind of a little bit gray area what lies here. The service provider is in control of the forest here, but it's the same Active Directory. So ideally, the danger they see, if my enterprise admins in this environment can go into this environment and start destructing the service, there's not much stuff you can do. So service providers, actually, they put various scripts on their end, they do logging, and they do different things actually to track this kind of activity, that if some rogue enterprise admin will suddenly jump into Active Directory and start deleting, basically disabling service provider users from the CS administrator roles, right? Or disabling from RTC universal admins. Removing these things, actually, it will immediately affect the service provider. It will affect SLA, the penalties gone. So that's the area where the service provider they put around of scripting, logging, all this kind of stuff, right? But look, they've agreed. At least 2 out of 3 service providers actually gone into this model. Right? And more, you would think customers will go, ooh, nah, I don't want it. It's interesting, out of 5 cases we had with them, 3 of them, they had no problem of extending Active Directory to service provider. I was personally involved with them. So it's not as scary, right? The devil is in the details. It's better to talk with them and explain them all the benefits they get out of this. But you can deploy it, right? And that's, again, building the dedicated instance of Skype for Business Server on-premise. It can be in any cloud. It can be on the customer cloud. What is a customer cloud? His data center. Whatever data center, how you call it, in the dedicated data center or room in the office with the air conditioner, right? Or you can actually take it and build it into the service provider, and you can host it for him, right? And the reason why people go to this, because people want functionality and they want a feature-rich. If you are up against replacing telephony, feature-rich telephony, you have to go on-premise. And there's options to go with that. So as we mentioned that the hybrid is the case. The hybrid is the one that we're seeing it should benefit customers of bringing and connecting them to the online cloud and giving them more functionality. So what is a hybrid? Hybrid is a concept where you extend your SIP domain into online services. We used to call it split domain. It's not called anymore split domain. It's now called hybrid. So when Microsoft says hybrid, assume it's a split domain. I'm still calling it split domain, right? In order to do that, you need to configure your services in a very specific way. And stuff that you've done with the 2013 server, now with Skype for Business. If you're familiar, if you installed Skype for Business server, you can see things are actually a much better way. There is a menu in Skype for Business server which you can click, and it will execute some of the steps for it, will prepare your environment for the hybrid deployment. What's really interesting, again, you have to be careful on how do we position hybrid. If you are running on Office 365 dedicated, and I have at least 7 customers I'm dealing with, there is Office 365, they call it MT, multi-tenanting platform, and there is Office 365 dedicated, where we actually, I think if you're a customer, you've got at least 40,000 ends, you can come to us and says, why don't you just build my private Office 365 cloud inside your data center? We can do that. We run this for very large international companies, right? We are a completely dedicated platform of Office 365. Hybrid is not available across that. It's not available across service provider clouds. You cannot say it's a provider A is hosting me, and I've got some hosted Exchange and other services in provider B. Can I do hybrid with them? No, it is not available, right? And it does not work between service provider and customer. And so the reason, the context for this line is it assumes the default resource forest deployment. If you are in a resource forest deployment, it does not work. You have to extend your Active Directory. You need to be as a native Active Directory with the service provider, which means there's no changes to your environment. It's just the 2 forests, right? So how it basically works, you deploy AD, you choose your methods of directory synchronization, that we spoke about it, and you choose your methods the way you want to authenticate. You want to authenticate against Azure Active Directory? Great, authenticate against that. You want to do that? No, I'm not happy. I want them to authenticate it against Active Directory on my on-premise, which means, nice. Well, you need to now deploy ADFS services, and every time they go hit online services, they will be redirected to your on-premise service for authentication. And then you will deploy your Edge infrastructure. Edge is really important, and Edge then will communicate with Skype for Business Online Edge, and then they will communicate from this environment. Now, most of the configurations, moving users between the clouds, all these things done through command line. Assignment of the voice policies, assignment of all these things are done through the command line of your on-premise. And remember, as of today, I have to be careful what's going to happen next week. Because we actually launching some new hybrid services. Right now, we're training some partners in Redmond, so there's been some small changes happening. So, but I'm saying, as of today, as of this week, if you are running in a hybrid environment, you have to remember your landing point for all your Skype for Business environment is your on-premise Edge. Even if I'm an online user of the hybrid deployment, Link Online, I still, my first hit, my SRV records or Link Discover, whatever, it always comes and hit my Edge server on-premise. It hits my front end, and my front end on-premise will say, you actually are online user, why don't you go online? And then client will be redirected, and it will basically log into online services. That raises a very nice question. If I'm going to have one Edge, am I going to be happy? Probably no. Because if the Edge is down and the pool is up, no one actually can sign in, because they will be trying to knock the connection to the front-end server, and the front-end server can't redirect, right? So if you're going to hybrid, as of today, this week, you have to think about it. So what you can do possibly in case if you are with a service provider, no difference. You just extended your Active Directory. So those servers can be sitting in a service provider cloud. Those servers can be sitting on your on-premise. What actually works in your case is just a pure layer 3 routing. That's all. You just route from point A to point B, and exactly the same principles applied to the case like this, because you really just extended your Active Directory. So the message of the day, very, very heavy message. Please, there is no resource forest supportability with service provider deployments. What if I need something else? We had a number of cases actually where customers requested us to go. They moved Skype for Business into on-premise, from on-premise into service provider. They've gone into resource forest. It's a kind of a dead end. I have to be honest, right? There's not much you can do. You really have to think about going. And then all the beauties of moving from one forest to another and bringing users with contacts, with conferencing. If you link partner, you know how it is not just an easy exercise to do. If you are have some security concerns, right? You have got multi-layered data centers, and you've got multi-layered entry points into your data center networks, right? Your DMZ has 3 layers. I've come across at least 3 layers of inside DMZ, right? It's a cross. It's a lot of requirements customers might have. Or customer might have multi-forested environment, and they have to sync into one Office 365 tenant. So all these cases, we don't want to just completely shut it. We really, the only best way actually to sit down and talk. Come on, if you're coming across that issue, come to us, reach to us, have a chat with us. Because we can provide then the feedback back to the product group. So what we have done, we actually created the cases. We have internal kind of, I believe some of the partners have access to that. There's a Skype Experience Engine program. It's basically, that's the way we feedback the product updates and requirements for very specific function to the product engineering. And the product engineering look at the case and look at how critical is deployment, how big is affected. We don't just say, oh, you know, the company have got 200 users or 1,000 users, they want a feature A. No. Then I work, for example, in the worldwide team. I'll take a feature, we'll try to understand if this is a similar feature available across the region. And then we'll make a case and we'll go to the product group and say, guys, we really need to think about it. Right? Then what the product guys will do, they will actually take all this feedback coming in, they prioritize the feedback, and some of the feedback actually they put into production. For example, how many of you guys had the requirements to run offline messaging on a mobile platform or on a link 2010, 2013? Yeah, it's soon, we're working on it. We made a very, very big case, around 400 seats roughly affected across Asia for offline mobile messaging. Yahoo Japan only buys link if the offline messaging is available, for example, right? So this kind of feedback we need. So talk to us. If something you really wanted, we actually can, more than likely we have a case. So when we have a cases, then we can add those evidences to the case, make case stronger. So some of the takeaways, these are different products. Please be very specific. It is a Skype. It's a Skype for business online, Skype Online, Skype for Business Online, and Skype Business Server. Be very specific about the products, and be very specific about what do you synchronize and how you authenticate. It's not complex. It used to be. It's been not a lot of kind of information was scattered around. It's not as complex. It no need to be that complex. And again, as traditionally, if you know me, I always refer to the point is architecturally and technically, I can achieve practically anything I want these days. I can build it, I can synchronize it, I can make them working. What really matters is not the technology side. It's really the end user side. Thinking about how end users are going to be consuming a service, how they will be actually using a system, what's going to be impact to your network. That's what you really need to analyze. And that actually may help you to drive some of the architectural decisions you will make around that. So some of the sessions we run. Again, my reminder, please complete the evaluation. Oh, we're 8 minutes early. So what I would like to do now, I would like to call Paul. So we'll do the demo on the broadcast meeting side. We'll do the demo on RT100. And then we'll open up for questions. Sounds good? Excellent. Thank you.
All right, okay, we'll just get set up here for a minute. We promised yesterday we'd get these demos done and working, so despite the network conditions, we've managed to sacrifice enough chickens last night, I think, to, even if it runs a bit slow on the network, we should get things going on here. So let me just connect up. So let's start and have a look at the Roundtable 100. Now, you guys can have a look at this box if you can't see it on that side of the room, so the screen's in a way. It's a pretty small sort of Intel NUC we have there. This is the Polycom RT100. As far as I'm aware, it's the first time it's been shown in, definitely in the Asia-Pacific region. It was shown briefly at our US conference. So I'll flick over to number 7, which should bring it up on the screen. Okay, this is the default screen of a Polycom Round 100, right? So I have basically this box has an HDMI cable, a couple of USBs where it runs a camera, and a speakerphone that's attached to that, and that's it from a hardware perspective, right? And it has network, Ethernet on there to actually provide it. It needs an internet connection, right, when it comes in. Okay, now that just sits in a meeting room, and you'll see these lovely, pretty Bing images that it pulls down. I'm not sure exactly where it's actually pulling these down or if they're stored on the image across there. And they'll refresh on like an hourly basis, and you get nice, pretty pictures on your room when you walk into it. So the idea is you rock this into a huddle room, okay, and then it's easy to use. Now, it's used and controlled by the fact of, I have a meeting, right? I've had a scheduled meeting in Skype for Business, or I want to do an ad hoc meeting just walking into that room across there. I have a smartphone, and I have a companion app that runs across this guy on here, okay? So I can walk in, find my app and start it. Across here, just fire this up. Okay? This is just available, it'll be available on the various app stores just to download across there. It's dedicated to controlling this room environment, right, the RT100. Okay, what happens there when I come in?
It's paired.
You see the pair come up on there, all right? Because it's already on my list, I've already connected to that room previously. I'll automatically pair to the device across there. My calendar shows up on my phone, which is my meetings that I've got scheduled. I can just tap on my meeting, press join, and I'll say joining the Roundtable 100 demo meeting. Now, it'll tell me, and it says on there as well, I've got the same picture, to actually answer this guy, which I do from the speakerphone. It does that to make sure you're in the room. So you've physically got to press the button as I'm sitting at home joining meetings from a room I'm not in, right, coming across there when it comes in. Now, this is where we've got a bit of a delay around the network, so this may take 30 seconds. Normally it's instantaneous, right, when we get in and connect into the meeting. And I'm joining across on here. William from Polycom downstairs, hopefully he's already in the meeting, and he should be there as well. And I'll get Vactang to join on his machine when it has coming in.
And that's nothing to do, it's just a traditional link meeting. That's all. It's just a link meeting.
Yeah, there's nothing special about this. It's just a link meeting that we've had scheduled. Or I could do an ad hoc one across there. Maybe we should have sacrificed a couple more chickens across there. Still joining.
So probably while it is joining, do you want to swing to...
There we go, we're in. Right.
Here we go.
All right.
Yeah.
So William's coming in, and you'll see, we'll get his video, and we'll see the network quality is bad, so it's getting pretty choppy around here. We were testing this downstairs, and we were scaling up to 1080p really nicely across as it comes in. I come in there. Now, we've got content view being pushed from, which is actually being pushed from William downstairs. Okay, so he's pushing the Polycom site. We've got Vactang's video, which is coming from his laptop on here, and we've got the room video, which is, you see our small preview down the bottom around here, so we're getting multi-party. And on here, I've got volume controls, I can mute. I press the mute button on here, you'll see the mute sign comes on in the room. I unmute, and you saw comes off and mute across there. I've also got a different view option, so I can go across. Rather than looking at content and video, I can switch to a gallery view, just on the fly from here. I can switch to the speaker view. You see the quality's popped up now, and dropped again as the network's gone, right? But you get a bit of a feel across there, and I can switch back again and get content. Really, really, really very easy to use device, all right, for any user that's got across there. This is an unmanaged device, okay? And as of today, as far as I'm aware, right, it's supported officially on Office 365 using that Skype for Business service that was talked around across there. It's not launched yet, so it's launching, I believe, imminently in the US, but speak to the Polycom guys, right? It's their device. But very, very simply, it's a $1,000 US device that comes with the speakerphone and the webcam. All you need is an HDMI display and an Ethernet connection in your room, and bang, you've got a really low-cost meeting room solution to address those small room environments.
So every TV you've got in the meeting room should have one of these underneath. That's the goal.
And there's even a sign on it that says "this way up" for people like us that never know which way to do it across there. Okay, real simple. So that's the Roundtable 100. And end the call, you press the red button, right? It's not complex across there. And hey, we've got a nice shiny new image. Maybe it changes with a call, all right? We haven't played around with that stuff there coming through. And that's it. Okay, so that's that one. Right, good. 1 out of 1. Now, this one we need a bit of audience participation in, so I'm just going to switch across, if I find a cable to plug my PC into, on here. Is that me or is that you? That's your one.
Do you want mine?
Oops. I'll plug the cable in the right way, it may help.
You're in.
Okay, we're good. Okay. Right, so broadcast meetings. What's a broadcast meeting? All right, so, we have the standard Skype for Business meeting where you can have a bunch of people joining in, you have collaboration, you have video, you have audio. What about if I want to do a very, very large scale meeting? I'm the CEO, and I want every employee to sit and watch my live video stream and consume that, right? We do a business update, whatever it is, or shareholder meetings, whatever it happens to be. So now, again, delivered via the cloud. It's a cloud feature called broadcast meetings. So as Vactang talked about the architecture back there, right, this will require you to have a hybrid or an online architecture to take advantage of broadcast meeting when it launches. And again, this is in preview right now, so again, it's not out there and launched. There is a preview program you can actually sign up for and try this out for yourselves if you've got some large-scale meetings you want to get through. But I can go in and we'll actually build one up live. I think it's probably the easiest way.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and create a new broadcast meeting. Again, here in this scenario, again, this is preview. I'm just going in and creating a demo meeting, and we'll set the start time. Not that it really matters. We'll set it for right now, or 6 o'clock across there. Okay, I can change and add members of the events team. So if I want Vactang to be a producer, so he can switch content and switch providers and do all this stuff and who's presenting, he can manage it for me on my behalf. And I'll make it anonymous access. So anyone with the URL can go and join the meeting, all right, across there. And that's done. That's scheduled. I can also do some additional stuff. I can add in, if I like, on the attendee page, I can have things such as a Bing Pulse survey. Right, so I can get live, real-time feedback around how the meeting's going from the audience in the participation as they're coming across here, right? Or I can have a Yammer feed in there to introduce social across there. So getting a real sort of, more than just a webcast experience, you're getting this sort of full-on social experience. Now, if basically what we have, if I just get my join link shown up on here.
I'm going to bring one bit further down.
Yeah. Oops, let me go back to it. There we go. I'm just going to copy this URL across here, and I'll actually just shorten this as well, because this is where we could probably get a bit of audience participation. Let me just copy this and paste it into Word. What I will get you to do, anybody that's got a network connection, so if you're on Wi-Fi, it may be a bit slow. If you want to open up a phone or anything you've got a browser on, okay, across there, you can go in and join across on there. We get Vactang. Do you want to just drop and do it on your machine as well? Are you on number 5, right?
Yep.
So we got the
8.
Sorry, number 8. Sorry? On that one? Oh, I'm not sure. Sorry. Let me switch back. I'm just getting Vactang to copy it in first. Then I'll go back on
I'm done.
We're multitasking. Was it number 5? When was it? Number 6?
6.
No one said you got it down quick enough, right? Okay, let's put it back up there, across there.
And all these things, you need to remember, this is a broadcast meeting. This is expecting people to have at least thousands of people. There is no such a thing as ad hoc 2,000 people meeting, right? This usually people will go into preparation, the producers. It's a normal thing to have to go through this kind of routine to create the backstage, create the URL, set the timing. So you will have some designated people that actually will start creating that meeting environment, right? That's basically what it is.
URL or not? See if you're getting adverts coming through.
Yeah, I'll probably.
Has anyone got a broadcast meeting that's not started yet? We have got. You've got the wrong URL.
Typing.
All right. So you're now sat, right? So you've got the invite. It's been sent out an email. You've clicked on that link, and zero plugin. You've now seeing, hey, my broadcast meeting's not started, right? Because I'm the guy who's presenting. I'm giving you that broadcast meeting coming in.
Yeah.
You got it now? Okay.
You want to show it?
Okay. So let me flick back, and I'll actually show from a presentation perspective what we actually get across here. All right. I'm already on, aren't I? Okay, so I'm just actually going to go.
You're on it as managing.
All right, so I'm now going to sign in and join it as the event team member, right? So I'm the guy that's presenting this thing. Okay, now what's probably going to happen up here, it's going to detect, because I'm already authenticated the cross here, it's going to pop up my Skype for Business client. And again, yes, I do want to switch apps. Right, where you come in through the browser, what it's doing with myself is it's actually taking me through my standard Skype for Business client, okay? As if I was joining an ordinary meeting across here. Again, we're going to be at a bit of mercy of a bit of slow network when it comes in, so we'll just let that load up in a few seconds. So I'll go into mute automatically. It looks just like a standard Skype for meeting call, except if you see in the middle, right? It's now saying meeting broadcast. It's got my photo, well, maybe not my photo at the top of this user that I'm signed in as, up there. I may have grown some more hair and or whatever it is across there. Okay, and now the meeting's not started, right? My actual start broadcast meeting is grayed out. You'll see on the screen across here, right? So, you know, I'm getting ready. I'm going to, maybe I wanted to have some content. Normally you'd preload content, so it's there ready. But maybe I'm just going to do a video cast to, you know, all the employees across there, all right, when it comes in. So I can go and I can start my video. Again, no different from Skype for Business in terms of having a meeting going on, right? I've now got my webcam going in. Again, my meeting start button's still grayed out across here, all right? To actually activate it, I don't know if you can read that under there, but it says activate a video or add content to get started, all right? I need to, because I could have a bunch of people who are going to present in across here. So I need to right-click on the video I want. Okay, make this the active video for the broadcast across here. Okay, that will now go, that will set that up, and you see this little blue square, and it says this is the active video for the stream. Now I'm ready to go, I'm ready to rock, right? I can do my big 10,000 employee broadcast meeting, and I can click on here and I can start talking, and it gives you a little warning, you ready to start? Because you can't restart it once you're in, right? Because we're basically packaging this up in the cloud, okay, and then resending this out using Azure Media Services when it comes in. Now again, our network's really bad, so there's going to be a bit of a lag before you start seeing this thing coming through.
So it will take that lead, take the stream, bring it into Azure, hold around 30 seconds, and it will come as a nearly real time with a 30 seconds bit of delay, and then it will be broadcasted through this.
So we'll say 30 seconds plus Sky City Wi-Fi delay. We'll add a minute, right? Just onto that one. Just to you'll see my broadcast has now gone live. Hopefully on your browsers in a few seconds around there, you'll start to see a spinny wheel as it starts to render that up and actually bring that through. Still saying not started on there yet. Whoa. People getting that starting up? Yep. Okay.
Yep, starting up.
And we're getting Vactang's coming in. For those of you who haven't got a machine active, I'll just switch over to Vactang's machine. So now what you're getting, oops.
Yeah.
You're seeing the stream coming in. Now, what the great thing is, whilst I'm the CEO and I'm here presenting, okay, and again, you're not going to be in the same room, right? So that's like latency as we package things up, you're not going to notice anyway. You'll notice, Factank, if he wants to go off because he's fed up with what I'm talking about and he can go and get himself a coffee, it's just a stream, right? I can pause, I can rewind, I can go and play catch up when I get back, across on here whilst I'm doing the meeting. So it's a real simple experience we have going through.
You can go back, you can start playing it, you can do various things with that.
Okay. So that is, in simplicity, what broadcast meetings is, all right? But as a user, as the guy that's doing the presentation, it's nothing new. It's just whatever camera I'm using, my audio device, my Skype for Business client, I just now have the power of the cloud extending reach out to many thousands of people, and it's just a web stream we have coming out across there, all right? So that's broadcast meetings. If you have any broadcast meetings throughout September or October and you've got 500 or so people you want to have a meeting with, come and let us know, and we'll potentially be able to get you onto that preview program and get you using some of this stuff in a while, right? But it's real simple, to actually get hold of and use. Just as where it's coming from, my tenant that I'm connected to in Denman is actually in Redmond, so I'm on Wi-Fi here across the Pacific into our tenant in the US, okay, where we're effectively packaging it up into Azure and then sending it out across the Azure Media Services Network. So it gives you a bit of perspective of where everything is across there.
And the most important thing, you've seen, there's no plugin.
Yeah.
It's natively through the browser.
Any device, any browser, you're away. No, I've got on mute there, right? Sorry, I was on. Yeah, I'm not producing. You will have sound, absolutely, right? You'll have sound as well as the video. It's just to prevent a whole bunch of feedback through about 200 devices. We thought we're getting not pushing audio out across it, but absolutely no issues at all.
Yeah. So what was your question? Yes. Since 2013, we have actually introduced all the HTML5 and JavaScript support for all browser-based applications for collaborative technologies like Link.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Done.
Number 5. Cool. Mr. Teagle's a happy man. He got all his chickens last night, and we got some demos that worked. Right? Across there.
So let's open up for questions. And what we'll do, we'll answer your questions, and then we're going to give away by some way those 2 devices, guys. Yes?
Good question. It's part of, I believe, including E3 for sure.
I'm not buying him a beer.
it's part of
That's a tricky question.
It's part of Office 365 E3 SKU and above on there. Hey, I'm not a licensing expert, so I can't. I'll say I'll take the easy option. Say speak to our licensing expert who can help you out with that one. Right, I'm afraid.
It's a preview,
connect with us
right?
afterwards. We could find out. Right?
It's in a preview. Once it's launched, all the pricing structure will come with that one. Yes. They don't have to be online.
It can be on-prem.
They can be on-prem, but this is why we say the foundation have to be hybrid. Can be on-premise. Look, as I said, as of today, yes, it is on-premise, but hopefully from next week, Monday, Tuesday, we'll be able to shed a little bit more light on it.
Into that broadcast meeting? Yeah, we didn't set it up on there, but you could have a Yammer feed just baked in there, right?
No,
is that what you're saying?
This is a tricky question. The feedback channel, remember, broadcast meetings in one too many. There is no feedback channel to that unless you can put a Yammer feed, and then actually you can take questions to Yammer. But that's going to be live. This is where the moderators will need. When you have 3,000 people on the meeting, you need to manage it. In that side, yeah. So if you publish the Yammer feed, then through the Yammer you can take a feed as a feedback channel. Yes? No questions? Hopefully from Monday we'll be able to share you. As a minimum, it may change a little bit, but as a minimum you need to have front-end server, you need to have an edge. because what you're doing, you're really extending, you're really federating, because your online service is considered federated identity with the same SIP domain, right? So edge and a front-end server as a minimum, that's going to be, but if the changes come, it might be a little bit changed, but I don't think so it's going to be that different. It could be more packaged into one environment to give you easier choice, because if you don't have anything online, you have to kind of. The license-wise, you license server or client. You license front-end server, and then you can deploy edge. We don't license you for the edge. One front-end, we license per front-end instance. If you have front-end instance, you can have 20 edges if you want. Worldwide? It's available worldwide for every tenant. That's going to be available. Again, this is not released yet, right? We kind of a little bit speculating, but that's what we're hearing.
Online and hybrid though, right?
Online and hybrid. But it's kind of not online and hybrid. It's have to be hybrid, driven for online, but if you have hybrid deployment, if you have on-premise deployment, you need to then go into hybrid so you can use the power of it. Any other questions? No? Giveaways.
I'll ask a couple of questions then, right?
Okay.
And you can look for who's answering first, so you can get the blame.
Okay.
Whoever's hand goes up first and get the right answer, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so there was, in terms of talking around the 3 different topologies, right? If I was looking to go hybrid, which there's benefits and features and stuff coming as we've already shown around there, which of the AD forest models wouldn't be supported currently?
Yeah, you were the first. Beautiful. Thank you.
One more?
One more?
I think we mentioned this. What's the scale of broadcast meetings supported today?
10. Here we go.
10,000 users, right? That's the current supported number of users for broadcast meeting.
We'll make it more difficult for tomorrow for this one. We'll make it better. We'll do the random. We'll generate the numbers and pick up people from room. Thank you very much.